Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much. What if the secret to transforming your life wasn't hidden in some distant goal, but waiting quietly in the first hour of your day? What if the way you start your morning was silently shaping your entire future? And what if, while most of the world is still asleep, you were already winning? Most people wake up just in time to chase the clock. They scramble out of bed, already behind, their minds flooded with noise before they even have a moment to breathe. The day dictates their mood, their choices, their outcomes. But there's a different kind of person, the one who rises while the world still sleeps. That person moves differently. They think with clarity. They win quietly, long before the rest of the world begins to stir. Waking up early isn't just a habit. It's a weapon, a powerful tool to reclaim your peace, your clarity, your purpose. Because if you don't take command of your morning, the world will take command of your day. So ask yourself, are you sleeping through your potential, or are you rising to meet it? In just a few minutes, you'll see why early rising doesn't just sharpen your focus. It reshapes your mindset and awakens the kind of discipline that changes everything. Let's start with one truth. Early rising defines your purpose. Waking up before the sun isn't just a matter of timing. It's a declaration. A statement that you intend to own your time, not be owned by it. In those sacred hours of silence, while the world is still wrapped in sleep, you access something rare, a mental clarity that most people never experience. Without distractions, without noise, you begin to hear your own thoughts clearly. The distractions fall away, and your deeper purpose rises to the surface. It's as if the universe itself is speaking softly, urging you to listen, to reconnect with what truly matters, and to walk toward it with full intention. Benjamin Franklin, one of the great minds who helped build a nation, lived by a simple yet profound routine. Each morning, he asked, "What good shall I do this day?" And each evening, "What good have I done today?" These small questions, pondered during quiet morning reflection, shaped not only his own character, but the very values of a country. And you can do the same. Your morning is your personal philosopher's forge, the place where you sharpen your thoughts, discipline your emotions, and shape your highest vision. Consider Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who began his days in reflection and stillness. He knew that without mastery of the self, one could never hope to lead or build anything lasting. This is what early mornings offer, a space without noise, without requests, without interruptions. Time to write, to learn, to plan, to think. This is when insight visits. This is where vague dreams take shape as detailed plans, and those plans become focused, committed action. Let me be honest with you. Those who sleep through these golden hours often stumble into the day reactive, scattered, and pulled by whatever the world throws at them. But not you, because you understand your life is too valuable to leave to chance. You wake early not from obligation, but from a place of deep intention. And that intention, it's just the beginning. In the next part, we'll uncover how this sacred morning time doesn't just sharpen your purpose. It unlocks your mental clarity and makes focus your greatest advantage. In the stillness of the early morning, you've already begun shaping your purpose. But purpose alone isn't enough. It's what you do with that time that sets everything else in motion. Think of Leonardo da Vinci. His journals, overflowing with sketches, questions, and discoveries, weren't born from distraction or chaos. He too rose with the sun, his mind alive with curiosity and wonder. And Isaac Newton, the man who unraveled the laws of motion, didn't find his genius in noise, but in deep solitude. These were not moments of luck. Their brilliance was no accident. It was shaped, nurtured, and refined in silence, in the very hours most people sleep through. When you rise early, you're not just creating a routine. You're laying the foundation for something far greater, a legacy. Each sunrise you witness, each quiet moment you claim, becomes a building block in the cathedral of your character. These are the bricks with which a meaningful life is constructed. This is your opportunity. Use these hours to connect inward, to set your focus. Write down your goals. Reflect on your values. Read something that challenges your thinking and elevates your vision. Sit quietly and ask yourself, am I becoming the person I want to be? Make your morning more than a routine. Let it become a sacred ritual, a contract with yourself to live this day with meaning, not motion, with purpose, not pressure. The world, as always, will try to pull you into its urgency, into its noise, into its chaos. But if you've already grounded yourself in clarity before the sun rises, no storm can truly shake you. You lead with intention. You act from vision. You move forward, not in reaction, but in control. So tomorrow, and every morning after that, when the alarm sounds, don't hesitate. Rise. Step into that sacred silence. And remember, in those golden hours before the world awakens, you are not walking alone. You are in the company of giants, Franklin, Aurelius, Da Vinci, Newton. You two are building something enduring. And the foundation of that greatness, it's laid when the world still sleeps. This is how waking early develops discipline. And discipline is what turns vision into victory. It is the invisible thread that connects your goals to your achievements, the silent force behind every lasting success. And we're better to train discipline than the quiet, demanding hours of early morning. When you rise before the sun casts its first golden light, you make a decision most won't. You choose discomfort over ease. You choose clarity over confusion. You choose intention over inertia. In that moment, you're not simply getting out of bed. You are awakening your will. This daily act, though simple, is profound. It is the beginning of self-mastery. And the one who masters himself, he becomes unshakable. Consider Alexander Hamilton. Born into poverty, he had no wealth, no advantage, only vision and relentless effort. Long before the world stirred, he poured his energy into reading, writing, and planning. That discipline, forged in solitude, transformed an orphan into a founding father. Or Catherine the Great, not only the ruler of an empire, but a ruler of her own habits. Her strength wasn't born from luck. It was crafted through thoughtfulness, iron self-control, and an unwavering sense of purpose. And just like them, each time you rise with intention, you train something far greater than your schedule. You train your character. In the next part, we'll explore how this daily commitment to early rising does more than shape your discipline. It unlocks your focus, your clarity, and your creative edge in ways you never imagined. Discipline, as we've just seen, is more than just action. It's the silent structure that holds up everything you build. But that inner strength, that order, begins fresh each morning. Catherine the Great understood that true leadership starts from within. And that inner order, it must be renewed every single day. When you meet the dawn not with hesitation, but with resolve, you're sending a powerful signal to your subconscious mind. I am in charge. You begin your day not by reacting to what the world throws at you, but by stepping forward with intention. That one early choice, to rise with purpose, echoes throughout your entire day. It becomes the rhythm behind every decision, guiding your actions with clarity and consistency. Like a disciplined warrior sharpening his blade at first light, your early rising sharpens your mental focus. You prepare your mind before the noise of the world begins. You remind yourself that success isn't something you stumble upon by luck. It's crafted, shaped by every small, deliberate decision. Discipline isn't a single act you perform when it's convenient. It's a way of being. It shows up in how you rise, how you move, how you speak, and even how you think. And when you commit to waking early, this discipline begins to seep into every part of your life. It becomes your standard, your inner compass. The sculptor Antonio Canova understood this well. He began each day in solitude, carving his masterpieces not through bursts of inspiration, but through repeated, focused effort. Every morning he returned to his craft, guided by vision and steady hands. And slowly, one chip at a time, he shaped stone into legacy. You can do the same. Think of Mary Wollstonecraft. She wasn't content to drift through her mornings. She filled them with thought, study, and intention. Her writings became the bedrock of women's rights. But it was in those early hours, before the world called upon her, that she laid the intellectual foundation for her cause. She refused to let the expectations of her time define her. And by rising early, with discipline and direction, she rewrote the future. Every morning you rise is a rehearsal for greatness. Every time you resist the pull of comfort, you strengthen the muscle of discipline. And over time, that muscle becomes the foundation on which your dreams stand. Let others sleep through their moment. Let them wait for permission or motivation. You don't need either. You only need the discipline to begin. Maybe you've wondered, what if I just don't feel like it? The answer is simple. Discipline does not negotiate with feelings. It doesn't wait for convenience. It acts, especially when it's hard. And it's in those difficult moments, when you rise anyway, that your character is shaped. This is where your edge is carved. Discipline becomes the gatekeeper of your potential. Without discipline, your goals remain out of reach. With it, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. And the place where this discipline is forged, it's in those early, quiet hours when no one's watching. This is your training ground. Use this time not just to do, but to become. Read what nourishes your mind. Write what clarifies your purpose. Reflect on what grounds you. Prepare your body, your mindset, and your inner compass, because what comes next will demand all of it. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how these quiet hours don't just sharpen your focus. They open the door to mental clarity, lasting creativity, and true transformation. Discipline, as we saw, is the gatekeeper of your potential, and it's built moment by moment in the quiet early hours. Now it's time to take that discipline and put it to work. Make your morning a proving ground, a sacred space where you demonstrate who you are before the world demands anything from you. Remember, those who achieve greatness aren't just gifted. They are relentless. They are consistent. They rise while others stay in bed. They act when others delay. They commit fully while others hesitate. So when tomorrow comes and the world still slumbers, let that silence surround you, not as emptiness, but as opportunity. Let discipline lead you and shape your destiny, one quiet dawn at a time. Because when you rise in the early morning, you're not just awake. You're fully alive. You are sharp, focused, and filled with purpose. Early rising doesn't just add hours to your day. It multiplies your momentum. While the rest of the world sleeps, you step into a space of unmatched clarity. No distractions, no noise, no one calling your name. Just you and the raw material of potential. This is the hour of the builder, the thinker, the poet, the architect, the leader. This is your hour where you're undistracted, undiluted, and unstoppable. Each morning is like a blank canvas. What picture will you paint today? The brush is in your hand. The colors are your choices. The image is your future. In these first sacred minutes, you're not reacting to life, you're designing it. The first thoughts you think, the first priorities you choose, the first actions you take, they become the blueprint of your day. Done intentionally, they create a surge of momentum that carries you through every challenge ahead. And when you harness that momentum, you begin stacking quiet victories, long before the rest of the world opens its eyes. Consider the life of Blaise Pascal. Mathematician, philosopher, inventor. His deepest reflections and most powerful ideas weren't born during moments of frantic activity. They emerged from still, intentional mornings. He knew the clearest thinking happens when the mind is untouched by the noise of the day. That clarity was his advantage. Or think of Anne Bradstreet, the first published poet of the American colonies. In a life full of duties and expectations, she carved out the early dawn to create. By candlelight, before the household stirred, she wrote the verses that would outlive her. Her creativity didn't come from luck. It came from choice, the choice to rise, to focus, to use her mornings with purpose. Productivity, like success, is never an accident. It's a decision, a pattern, a rhythm. The most successful people don't leave their productivity to chance. They take command of it at the start of each day. And in the next part, we'll explore exactly how that morning command, when done consistently, doesn't just boost productivity, it rewires your mindset for clarity, confidence, and long-term mastery. We've seen how early mornings give you command of your productivity, but that command begins with clarity. And clarity starts at dawn. This is when the world is quiet and your mind is sharp, alert, agile, and wide open. These first hours of the day are when your brain functions at its peak. Your willpower hasn't yet been drained. Your thoughts aren't yet cluttered. Your focus is clear and your energy is high. Science affirms it, but more importantly, you know it. You've felt that unique spark before, the kind of momentum that comes only from an intentional, early start. That spark? It's your strategic edge. Use it. These precious hours are not for scrolling, reacting, or putting out fires. They are for progress. Use them to do the work that matters most, the work that actually moves your life forward. Don't trade these golden minutes for minor tasks. Use them to build something lasting. Olaudah Equiano knew the value of time and used it with intention. Born into slavery, he rose to become a powerful voice in the abolitionist movement. His mornings were spent in solitude, writing, reflecting, and preparing his message. And through that quiet, focused effort, he produced an autobiography that didn't just tell his story. It changed the course of history. He didn't wait for time. He created it, and he made the morning his ally. Every early hour you invest with intention is like a deposit into the account of your future. One quiet morning at a time, you're compounding progress. Those small, consistent actions, they add up. Days turn to weeks. Weeks into habits. And over time, habits become momentum. You don't transform your life in a single leap. You do it through steady, deliberate movement. And you're not competing with the world. You're outpacing your former self. Each time you rise before the sun, you give yourself a head start. Not on the day, but on your old limits. This is the path of creators, builders, leaders. Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters most when you're your best. And you are never more powerful than when you begin your day with intention, clarity, and direction. So use this sacred time wisely. Plan deeply. Build steadily. Write clearly. Think intentionally. Use it to set systems in motion that serve your future. Refine your skills. Lay down the bricks of your next milestone before distractions even have a chance to knock. These hours are your sanctuary. Treat them with respect. Let the rest of the world wake up in a rush of chaos and noise. But not you. You rise with craftsmanship, with clarity, with commitment, because you know something they don't. When you own your morning, you own your light. So tomorrow, when the sky is still dark and the world lies silent under the weight of sleep, rise. Let your first breath be grounded in purpose. Let your first movement be one of progress. Pick up the brush of intention and paint boldly across the canvas of your day. Because you're not just getting things done, you are advancing your vision. And it all begins in the morning. And there's more. In the next part, we'll explore how early rising doesn't just shape your productivity. It strengthens your resilience and builds the kind of inner power that lasts a lifetime. In the previous part, we saw how early mornings shape not just productivity, but intentional progress, the quiet commitment to building a meaningful life. But productivity alone is not enough. What carries you through difficulty isn't just action, it's resilience. Every time you choose to rise before the rest of the world, you're making a powerful decision, one that favors resilience over comfort, strength over ease, growth over stagnation. The discipline to wake early is more than a habit. It's a test of spirit, a daily act of courage. It's the gym where your willpower is trained, your endurance stretched, your identity shaped. Because resilience isn't born in ease. It doesn't emerge from comfort or silence. It's forged like steel in fire through consistent confrontation with discomfort. And really, what more familiar challenge is there than the seductive warmth of your bed? The whisper of just 5 more minutes. The easy temptation to postpone purpose and delay the day. When you rise early, you're not just waking your body. You're declaring something bold to yourself and the world. I am stronger than my excuses. I am greater than my comfort. And that simple, quiet choice becomes your first victory. A foundational win that sets the tone for every challenge ahead. Consider Booker T. Washington. As a young boy, he walked miles in the dark before dawn just to attend school. He didn't wait for better conditions or more favorable timing. He rose again and again. Not because it was easy, but because he knew that each step taken in struggle was building a future no one could take from him. His strength wasn't granted. It was earned, one early morning at a time. That same spirit exists in you, waiting to be awakened. Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams and a fierce leader in her own right, rose early not just for duty, but for depth, to study, to write, to reflect, even in the midst of war and uncertainty. She became a voice of wisdom and stability in a world unraveling, not by chance, but by choice. Her strength was not reactionary. It was cultivated in the quiet, in the discipline, in the dawn. You see, the temptation to stay in bed is more than physical. It's symbolic. It represents every comfort that holds you back, every hesitation that delays growth, every fear that convinces you to stay small. And when you resist that pull, even once, you've already proven to yourself that you are capable of rising. Resilience isn't some dramatic breakthrough. It's built brick by brick, moment by moment, in decisions just like these. When you're tired, but you rise anyway. When you doubt, but act anyway. When you fear, but move anyway. And what better place to train that muscle than in the early morning hours, when no one is watching and the only voice you have to answer to is your own. These hours are your crucible, the sacred space where you're not tested by the world, but by yourself. And when you win that battle first thing in the day, you carry that strength into every other fight that follows. So what comes next? In the next section, we'll explore how these daily victories, rooted in resilience, go beyond morning routines. They create the emotional and mental strength required to lead, inspire, and endure over the long haul. In the last section, we uncovered how early mornings build the foundation of resilience, not just by avoiding comfort, but by rising to meet challenge with clarity and strength. Now let's go deeper, because resilience isn't just about surviving tough moments. It's about moving forward with purpose, no matter what stands in the way. Resilience doesn't mean simply bouncing back. It means pushing forward again and again with relentless determination. And when you start your day by stepping into the cold, into the stillness, into the discomfort of the unknown, you're training one of the most important muscles of all, mental toughness. Take Bertel Thorvaldsen, the great sculptor. His commitment didn't depend on bursts of inspiration or perfect conditions. He rose with the morning stillness again and again, and met the stone with resolve. He didn't wait. He showed up. And slowly, with each disciplined stroke, he shaped something lasting. Life, much like marble, can be unyielding, but with resilience, you don't shatter under pressure. You carve through it. The morning hours are your sharpening ground. Use them. Do something uncomfortable. Sit quietly with your thoughts instead of distracting yourself. Write down the fears you'd rather ignore and face them. Move your body when it resists. Read something that stretches your mind instead of soothing it. These small, daily acts, repeated over time, will begin to harden your focus and strengthen your resolve. While others choose the pillow, the snooze button, the comfort of routine, you choose differently. You understand that greatness is not handed out in daylight. It is earned in silence, in shadows, in the small, unseen choices you make before the sun rises. That's where your edge is forged. When you consistently choose the harder path, the earlier hour, the uphill climb, you begin to transform. You stop reacting to life and start leading it. Setbacks become puzzles, not threats. Challenges meet a steady mind instead of scattered panic. You start carrying yourself differently, with quiet confidence, because deep down, you know, you've already done the hard thing this morning. Everything else is just noise. Tomorrow, when your eyes blink open and your bed gently calls you back, remember, that moment is your test. Pass it, and you'll walk into your day armored with strength. Surrender to it, and the world feels heavier than it needs to be. But the choice is yours, and it begins with rising. Rise anyway. Meet the discomfort. Welcome the silence. Embrace the practice. With each early morning, you're becoming someone no hardship can break. Someone who endures. Someone who leads from within. You are becoming resilient. Not by accident, not by chance, but by a deliberate choice. A choice that starts like all powerful things at dawn. And there's something else that emerges from this early discipline. Something that quietly reshapes your entire approach to life. In the next part, we'll uncover how early rising doesn't just build strength. It cultivates a positive, empowered mindset that guides how you think, feel, and lead long before the world weighs in. In the last part, we explored how rising early builds resilience, strength forged through silence, intention, and self-mastery. But discipline and resilience are only part of the equation. What truly sustains you through the challenges of life is the mindset you choose at the start of each day. And it is here, in these quiet, golden hours, that positivity is planted. These are the moments when gratitude begins to grow, when clarity starts to unfold, when your mind begins to tune itself to the frequency of possibility, not limitation. Before the noise of the day floods in, you have a window, a sacred space to shape how you think, how you feel, and how you'll lead your life forward. Think of Florence Nightingale. Surrounded by the suffering and chaos of war-torn hospitals, she still began her days in quiet reflection. She couldn't control the world outside, but she could control the energy she brought into it. And that strength, that steadiness, it came from those early morning rituals. Her peace wasn't accidental. It was practiced. Or consider Carl Linnaeus, the renowned botanist. Each morning, he rose with the sun to explore the wonders of the natural world. He didn't just observe it. He welcomed it with curiosity and reverence. His early mornings were not rushed, not reactive. They were filled with gratitude and wonder. And that mindset transformed scientific exploration into a lifelong joy. You see, early rising isn't just about time management. It's about mental alignment. It's about choosing your attitude before the world chooses it for you. It's about beginning your day not with anxiety, but with intention. When you rise early, you step into a space that allows for freedom. Freedom to reconnect with who you truly are and who you're becoming. You are free to write your thoughts, to reflect on your values, and to express gratitude for what already exists. free to visualize what could be, free to meditate, to breathe, to pray, and to align with your highest self before the world demands your attention. You can speak affirmations that anchor you. I'm focused. I am capable. I am grateful. I am becoming the person I was meant to be. This is not a luxury. This is preparation. A mind that begins in gratitude becomes steady. A spirit rooted in positivity becomes unshaken. And a person who welcomes the light of dawn becomes a source of light for others throughout the day. Because how you begin matters. If you begin in chaos, the day feels like a scramble. But if you begin in peace, the day flows with clarity. The early riser does not stumble into their schedule. They step into it calm, centered, and strong. So let your morning routine become your anchor. Create space to reflect. Speak kindly to yourself. Reconnect with your values and your vision. The sunrise is not just a moment. It's an invitation. An invitation to begin with intention. And what happens when you begin each day this way, with clarity, gratitude, and inner power? In the next part, we'll see how this morning mindset becomes the compass that guides your decisions, your focus, and ultimately your destiny. Previously, we explored how early rising creates space for gratitude, clarity, and optimism. The quiet mindset that sets the tone for your entire day. But here's the truth. You don't need hours of silence to access that power. What you need is consistency. It's not about the length of time, but the depth of intention. Just 5 minutes spent in gratitude. 10 minutes of steady, focused breathing. A few pages from a meaningful book. These may seem like small acts, but they hold transformative weight. Because in those moments, you're not just waking your body, you're awakening your spirit. And when your spirit is fully engaged, there's no room left for bitterness, no space for complaint. You begin to see the world differently. You find opportunity tucked inside every obstacle. You notice light breaking through even the darkest uncertainty. You recognize lessons hiding in failure, while others leap out of bed into chaos, reacting to a world they haven't yet prepared for. You step into your day with harmony, with direction, with purpose, and that choice, that seemingly simple morning decision, echoes forward. It resonates in how you speak, in the decisions you make, in how you handle pressure, and how you uplift others. The energy you carry becomes a message that others can feel, even if they can't explain why. So tomorrow morning, as the world lies still, rise. Greet the day with presence. Light a candle. Open your journal. Step outside and breathe in the morning air like it's your first breath of the day, because in many ways, it is. Say something kind to yourself. Identify 3 things you're genuinely grateful for. Set your intention not on fear, but on growth. Not on self-interest, but on service. You don't need ideal conditions to live intentionally. You just need a willing heart and a practice you can return to consistently. Do this daily, and you'll begin to see something shift. The people around you will respond to your presence differently. Your work will flow more freely. The weight you carry will feel lighter. Why? Because you've changed. You've chosen to lead from within. You've decided to become a source of strength, to lead yourself before asking anyone else to follow. You've learned how to cultivate light before stepping into the day's shadows. In doing so, you become a living example of positive intention and action. That's the hidden power of rising early. Not just in productivity, not just in discipline, but in your ability to choose your state of being before the world gets a say. When you choose positivity, you choose a life that not only lifts you, it lifts others too. Rise early. Rise with gratitude. Rise empowered. And let your life speak through every action you take. And now, let's take it even further. In the next section, we'll uncover how early mornings aren't just a time for mindset and reflection. They're also the perfect space for continuous learning, the very foundation of personal and professional growth. In the last section, we explored how early mornings set the tone for gratitude, purpose, and presence. But once your spirit is centered, there's another gift waiting in those early hours, the gift of learning. There is no better time to embrace this sacred pursuit than in the stillness of the early morning. When the world is quiet, when digital noise is at rest, and no one is demanding your attention, your mind becomes open, clear, alert, and ready to absorb. This is the hour when your intellect is most alive, most receptive. Each sunrise carries an invitation. Will you grow today? If you answer that call with consistency, the rewards are profound. Because when you dedicate your early mornings to learning, you're not just collecting information, you're shaping the mind of a leader. You are developing the ability to think clearly, decide wisely, and see life from a wider, more elevated perspective. This isn't a one-time sprint. It's a daily commitment to your evolution. Growth, after all, is not accidental. It's deliberate. The men and women who rise to greatness are those who treat the mind with reverence. They study not to impress others, but to expand themselves. They journal not to record events, but to extract meaning. They reflect not out of routine, but to awaken the wisdom within. Consider Galileo Galilei, a revolutionary thinker who began each morning in solitude and study. He dared to question the unquestioned. His early hours were devoted to the inquiry that would later challenge centuries of belief and move the stars. He didn't wait for the right mood or moment. He created it through early, disciplined thought. Or look to Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, a brilliant mind who defied the limitations of her time. At dawn, she read, she wrote, she studied. While others still slept, she used those precious hours to challenge assumptions and build the intellectual foundation that would define her legacy. Those mornings were her sanctuary, and from them, her brilliance was born. When you rise early and devote that time to deep learning, reading powerful books, writing with purpose, reflecting on past experiences, you are planting seeds of greatness. One single insight captured in the quiet of morning can later become the solution that transforms your business, your relationships, or your mindset. The mind is like the body, it must be trained. Left idle, it weakens. But exercise daily. Even in small doses, it becomes sharp, resilient, and decisive. And the best time to train is before the world begins to pull you in a dozen directions. Let your morning be your classroom. Your journal, a mirror of your mind. Your desk, a place of transformation. Read not just to pass the time, but to elevate your perspective. Write not just to organize thoughts, but to uncover the truths beneath them. Reflect not only on what has been, but on what could become. And what happens when learning becomes a morning ritual. In the next part, we'll explore how that very practice not only expands your mind, but cultivates one of the most essential traits of all, self-leadership. In the last section, we explored how the early morning can become your personal classroom, a time for learning that sharpens your mind and unlocks potential. But learning isn't just a phase or a passing habit. It's a lifelong mindset, one that fuels your personal evolution. Learning does not belong to the young alone. It belongs to the willing. It is the daily practice of the wise and the ever-curious. As long as you are breathing, you are capable of growth. And when you give the best part of your day, your clearest energy, your sharpest focus, to that growth in the morning, you begin each day with momentum. The kind of momentum that leads not just to success, but to mastery. Consider Johann Sebastian Bach. His genius wasn't just a gift. It was a result of dedication. He began his days in composition, exploration, and experimentation. Each note, each silence, taught him something. He didn't just wait for inspiration. He met it head-on, morning after morning, through deliberate practice and intention. And in that early solitude, He nurtured the sound that would echo through centuries. You two are not bound by what you were given at birth. Your limits aren't defined by talent alone. You are empowered by what you choose to build, by what you cultivate when the world is still asleep. So don't settle for comfort in repetition. Seek expansion. Read what stretches your mind. Write what reveals your truth. Question what restricts you. That is the essence of morning learning. It doesn't just add knowledge. It sharpens your perspective, deepens your understanding, and aligns your thinking with your purpose. As the sun rises, let find you already immersed in growth. Let it spill across the pages of your book, the corners of your journal, the quiet spaces of your mind where untapped ideas wait to surface. Let every morning become a chapter in your own evolving education, a ritual of self-development that compounds day after day. The great leaders of history didn't rise to power by chance. They didn't merely react to life, they studied it. They observed, reflected, and sought to understand the deeper forces that shaped the world around them. That understanding wasn't born in chaos. It was forged in quiet hours of focused inquiry. So make that same commitment to yourself. Before the noise of the world begins, rise to grow. Read with intention. Write with clarity. Think with depth. And in doing so, you rise, not just from your bed, but into a fuller, stronger version of yourself. This is the path of the learner. This is the path of the strong. And this is the path of the successful. But there's something else early mornings begin to unlock. Something that learning alone can't fully give you. In the next part, we'll uncover how early rising builds one of the most essential traits of all, self-belief. Not as an idea, but as an earned truth. Previously, we saw how early mornings can shape a disciplined, curious mind. One that is constantly evolving through study, reflection, and intentional growth. But beyond sharpening your intellect, these early hours do something even more powerful. They cultivate self-belief. Each morning, when you rise while the world is still wrapped in silence, you're sending a quiet but powerful message to the deepest part of your soul. I believe in myself enough to act. I believe in my dreams enough to begin again. That decision, small as it may seem, becomes daily proof. Proof that you are worthy of the life you're building. Because self-belief isn't born from standing still. It doesn't arise from wishes or waiting. It is born through motion, through doing, through showing up, again and again. And each time you rise with purpose before the day begins, you are stacking evidence. Evidence that you are trustworthy, capable, committed. You don't just believe in theory. You begin to trust yourself in action. Think of Michael Faraday, one of history's great experimental scientists. His breakthroughs didn't come from bold statements or public glory. They came from quiet mornings in the lab. Methodical, focused, consistent. His self-belief was shaped not by applause, but by hours of invisible labor. By the discipline of showing up to the work day after day. Or consider Fanny Mendelssohn, the brilliant composer and pianist. Before the household stirred, she was already at the piano, practicing, refining, creating. Her talent wasn't handed to her. Her brilliance was earned in those unseen hours. Her confidence didn't come from compliments. It came from commitment, from proving to herself in silence that she would show up for her gift again. When you rise early and dedicate those sacred hours to growth, you're doing more than training your mind. You're training your spirit, and something begins to shift. Doubt starts to fade. The internal questions grow quieter. Why? Because your actions are becoming the answer. You no longer need to ask, can I become the person I want to be? Because every morning, you are becoming one small, disciplined act at a time. Just like an athlete who begins their training long before the stadium lights are on, you're conditioning yourself for your own version of victory. You are building your foundation, not through dramatic effort, but through steady, daily repetition. Let this truth take root in you. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build, and your early morning routine is the blueprint. Every time you rise early, you keep a small promise to yourself. And that promise says, I will not settle for less. I will not betray my purpose. I will take full ownership of my life. And when you keep that promise again and again, how could you not begin to believe? This is the quiet power of morning discipline. Not loud, not flashy, but transformative. And now, we'll take one final step forward. In the next part, we'll look at how all these early morning practices, discipline, learning, resilience, belief, come together to build what may be the most important trait of all: personal leadership. The ability to guide your life from the inside out. Previously, we explored how self-belief is not something you wait for. It's something you build morning by morning through discipline and personal commitment. But what happens when that belief takes root? You begin to lead yourself from within. No one may see it. There are no trumpets sounding when you open your eyes before dawn. No audience applauding when you choose discipline over ease. But you know, and that knowing, that deep, quiet certainty, begins to transform the very way you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who waits. You start becoming someone who leads. You stop living as someone who merely hopes. You begin to live as someone who acts. And with every passing morning, your identity shifts from dreamer to doer, from wanderer to warrior. Let your mornings become a sacred declaration of who you are choosing to be. A silent vow. I am not afraid of effort. I'm not afraid of solitude. I'm not afraid to do what others avoid. Because you understand that your future isn't determined by what you wish for. It's shaped by what you do day after day. As the sun rises, so does your belief in yourself. You don't just get out of bed. You rise into your own strength. You begin to carry yourself with quiet certainty. Your voice becomes clearer. Your decisions more deliberate. You begin to walk through life like someone who deeply trusts their own path. Confidence, after all, isn't built in flashes of inspiration. It's built in alignment, the daily choice to live in step with your values. It's not found in grand moments, but in small, steady movement toward your highest potential. So rise early, show up, do what matters, and watch how day by day your self-image begins to change. You become someone who no longer waits for permission because you've already proven your worth through action. Let every morning be your evidence, a reminder that you are capable, worthy, and ready to become everything you were born to be. This is the path of the quietly strong, the self-made, the one who leads from the inside out. And once you build this level of internal strength, there's something else that begins to take shape, something even more crucial for long-term success: adaptability. Because life, as we'll explore in the next section, is not a straight line. It bends, it shifts, and your ability to rise early trains you to adjust, to bend without breaking, and to move forward through anything. In the previous section, we explored how early rising shapes identity and inner leadership, how daily discipline transforms self-belief into personal power. But beyond belief lies an even more vital ability in today's unpredictable world: adaptability. It is in the quiet space of early morning that you begin to shape your day, instead of letting the day shape you. You become the sculptor, not the sculpture. And through this consistent practice, you train yourself not only to respond to life, but to lead through it. Not with fear or resistance, but with calm, creative readiness. Adaptability is not just a reaction. It's a mindset, a chosen posture. It's the ability to stay centered when everything around you begins to shift. And like every great strength, it doesn't appear by accident. It is trained. When you rise early, you enter into this rare training ground. You prepare your mind and emotions to remain flexible, steady, and focused in a world that rarely plays by the rules. In this stillness, you practice how to pivot with intention, how to meet the unexpected without losing your footing, Consider Mansa Musa, the legendary emperor of Mali. His journey across vast, unfamiliar lands brought him face to face with new cultures, foreign economies, and unpredictable challenges. His success didn't come solely from vision. It came from adaptability. He met the unknown not with hesitation, but with quiet, strategic contemplation. Moments likely formed in early solitude, long before the first voices of his court filled the air. Or think of Clara Barton, founder of the American Red Cross. She didn't operate in comfort or certainty. Her life's work unfolded in war zones and disaster sites. Unpredictable, chaotic, urgent. And yet, she brought order, comfort, and relief. That strength didn't come from routine. It came from adaptability, reinforced by a disciplined mindset. A mindset anchored each morning before the storm of the day began. Each time you rise early, you're rehearsing for the unknown. Because let's face it, no one can predict what the day will bring. Some days unfold effortlessly, while others challenge you at every turn. But when you meet the morning on your terms, with calm, presence, and readiness, you send a clear message to life. I will not be thrown off course. I will bend, but I will not break. I will adapt. I will overcome. And it all starts with a simple habit, checking in with yourself. Each morning, before the outside world lays claim to your thoughts, you have the opportunity to build internal alignment, to prepare not just for what might happen, but for who you choose to be when it does. And that brings us to the final and perhaps most profound gift of early rising, a gift that ties all the others together, clarity of purpose. In the next section, we'll explore how waking early helps you remember what truly matters and align your actions with your highest calling. In the previous section, we explored how early mornings prepare you for change, how they train your mind to stay centered even as the world shifts around you. Now we go one step deeper into the heart of adaptability, awareness. Each morning presents a quiet opportunity to ask yourself the questions that sharpen your direction. What needs to be adjusted? What plans must shift? What energy do I carry today? And how can I use that energy with intention? When you begin your day with questions like these, you cultivate a powerful habit, the habit of self-awareness. And awareness, when nurtured daily, becomes the root from which true adaptability grows. Because flexibility is not weakness, it's intelligent strength. It's the ability to remain steady in principle while fluid in execution. Like the bamboo that bends in the wind but never breaks, you, too, can remain rooted, even as you change direction. The early morning gives you the space to practice this wisdom. In silence, before demands begin piling up, you can revise your schedule, recalibrate your goals, and shift your focus with clarity, not pressure. You're not reacting to the world. You're responding to it. And there's a world of difference between the two. Because in response, there is power. In reaction, there's often loss. This is where the early riser rises above. They are not slaves to circumstance, but students of it. They don't fear change, they work with it. They see it not as a threat, but as an invitation. Because every unexpected turn in life reveals something, either your readiness or your need to become more ready. And each morning before the chaos begins, you are given a chance to prepare. Let your morning routine be a living structure, something strong yet flexible. Yes, have your habits, your journaling, your reading, your movement, but hold them with grace, not rigidity. Some days may call for stillness. Others may demand action. One morning might require deep reflection. The next, focused execution. The goal is not perfection. The goal is presence, a willingness to move with intention rather than resist what's needed. Let the morning train your mind to remain open. Open to new strategies. Open to better questions. Open to paths you hadn't planned, but were always meant to take. Let it remind you that no plan is final and no obstacle is immovable. True strength lies not in stubbornness, but in your ability to evolve. Each time you adjust without losing your purpose, you grow. Each time you pivot with presence, you mature. And every morning you rise with this mindset, you reinforce your capacity to thrive in a world that demands constant growth. Because in the end, the future does not belong to the rigid. It belongs to the adaptable. And now, we arrive at the final insight, the principle that unites every lesson we've explored so far. In the next part, we'll bring everything together and reflect on what it truly means to rise early, not just as a habit, but as a way of living with power, clarity, and purpose. Previously, we uncovered the hidden strength of adaptability, the quiet power that allows you to evolve, shift, and succeed in a world that's always changing. And where is that strength developed? In the early morning. Because it's in the quiet hours before the world awakens that resilience is forged. So tomorrow, as the sky begins to soften with light, rise. Take a deep breath. Step into the unknown not with hesitation, but with calm confidence. Adjust your stance. Refine your focus. And remember this. Your willingness to adapt again and again is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength, your clearest edge, and perhaps your most certain path to long-term success. But rising early doesn't just impact your mindset, your discipline, or your productivity. It also strengthens something equally vital, your relationships, because success is never achieved in isolation. Behind every achievement that lasts is a network of meaningful connections, relationships that were not built on convenience, but cultivated with care, patience, and presence. And one of the most powerful times to nurture these connections is in the early morning, when your thoughts are clear, your heart is calm, and your intentions are aligned with your values. This sacred time, undistracted, uninterrupted, creates space for more than goal setting. It creates space for relationship reflection. Who do you need to reconnect with today? Who deserves your appreciation? What honest conversation have you been delaying? Morning offers the composure and clarity to face these questions, not with stress, but with wisdom and grace. Frederick Douglass understood this. Even in the midst of extraordinary struggle, he carved out time each morning for reading, writing, and reflection. His words, the very ones that moved nations and changed hearts, weren't formed in noise or reaction. They were born in quiet preparation. His communication became his power because it was shaped in the silence before the world could shape him. Or consider Elizabeth Barrett Browning, whose letters and poetry touched thousands. She began her days in deep expression, not for fame, but for connection. Her morning writing practice became a space for love, empathy, and insight. The depth of her relationships, both personal and public, was rooted in the emotional clarity she cultivated before the world ever called her name. When you rise early, you gift yourself the emotional space to prepare, to reset, to reconnect. You don't move through your day reacting to every interaction. You move with purpose. You consider how to support a colleague, how to express gratitude to a partner, how to check in on a friend. These aren't trivial gestures. They're the quiet foundations of connection. And connection, over time, is what builds a life of meaning and shared success. So before the day begins, before the noise floods in, take a few minutes to remember who matters. Lead your relationships with thoughtfulness, and they will grow stronger with each morning you rise. And in the next part, we'll explore the final layer of this powerful routine. How early rising doesn't just prepare you for external achievement, but for something far more lasting, legacy. In the last section, we uncovered how early mornings can deepen your most important connections, how presence, prepared in stillness, becomes one of the greatest gifts you can offer. Now we go even further, from presence to purposeful connection. The The relationships you build become the very net that supports your rise. And it's in the early morning, when distractions are low and your awareness is high, that you can intentionally strengthen those bonds, one thread at a time. This is the moment to engage meaningfully, not mechanically, to nurture the connections that will shape your life story. Use this time to write a note of encouragement to someone who's quietly struggling. Recall a recent moment of kindness and take the time to express your appreciation. Reflect on a misunderstanding and rehearse the version of yourself who responds not with ego, but with empathy. These small acts, repeated daily, train you to lead with heart. And from that place, all relationships have room to flourish. Because the early riser isn't just more productive, they're more present. And presence is the rarest, most valuable gift you can give in any relationship. When you offer someone your full attention, undivided, grounded, sincere, you elevate them. You make them feel seen. And people may forget what you say, but they never forget how you made them feel. So let your morning become a quiet workshop of connection. Ask yourself, who in my life needs encouragement today? Where can I create more harmony? What act of generosity, even small, can I offer someone? When these kinds of questions begin your day, your relationships shift from accidental to intentional, from reactive to conscious. You're no longer drifting through interactions. You're shaping them with care. Make space for reflection. Journal about your conversations. Notice your patterns. Where are you showing up fully? Where are you holding back? This is not a moment for judgment. It's a moment for alignment. Morning reflection isn't about criticism. It's about course correction. It helps you enter each connection with more honesty, more humility, and more presence. Konzita Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, a master of both intellect and emotion, he used his early hours for correspondence and personal reflection. He wrote letters not just to share knowledge, but to sustain bonds. For Goethe, writing wasn't only a tool for thinking, it was a bridge for connection. You, too, can become the architect of deeper, more fulfilling relationships, not through grand gestures, but through quiet, consistent attention. The greatest leaders are not those who dominate. They're the ones who connect. And connection always begins with intention. So as you continue this morning journey, remember, every relationship worth keeping must be cultivated. And there's no better time to do that work than in the still, sacred space where clarity lives. In the final part of this journey, we'll bring everything together, all the lessons, all the habits, and reflect on what it truly means to rise early, not just as a practice, but as a path to lasting transformation. In the previous section, we explored how early mornings give you the presence and clarity to nurture deeper relationships, to lead with empathy, communicate with grace, and build bonds that sustain your rise. But at the heart of that connection lies something more personal, your inner world. Because when you take time each morning to manage your thoughts, emotions, and intentions before stepping into the demands of the outer world, something powerful happens. You begin offering the best version of yourself to those around you. Early mornings give you a moment of pause, a chance to respond instead of react, to listen instead of assume, to express instead of suppress. And from this daily space of reflection and alignment comes something far greater than productivity. Deeper connection, stronger influence, and a life supported by relationships that actually lift you higher. So tomorrow, before the sun breaks the horizon, take a moment. Think of those who matter most. Consider the bridges you need to rebuild. Reflect on the words you've been meaning to say. Remind yourself of the love you haven't yet shown. And then offer it, not in a rush, not in reaction, but with clear, calm intention. Do it before the world gets noisy. Do it with patience. Do it with grace. Because when you use the early hours to invest in your relationships, you're doing more than creating harmony. You're building emotional wealth, the kind of wealth that compounds over time and carries you farther than any solo ambition ever could. Rise early, lead with love, and watch as your world begins to shift. One relationship, one choice, one conversation at a time. And now, with your mindset grounded and your relationship strengthened, we come to a truth that threads through everything we've explored. Early rising is not about occasional effort. It's about consistent action. In the next section, we'll explore how greatness isn't built on inspiration alone, but on rhythm, and how the quiet power of morning gives you the structure to act with clarity, focus, and unshakable discipline. In the previous part, we saw how rising early sharpens not only your inner clarity, but also your relationships, allowing you to offer your best self to those who matter most. But what turns intention into transformation? One word: consistency. These early hours are the quiet workshop of the consistent, the proving ground for the truly committed. And every morning that you rise and choose to act, you place another stone on the path toward your vision. It may not feel grand or glamorous. It may not be thrilling every time, but is powerful. Consistency is not about explosive momentum. It's about focused, deliberate effort repeated with discipline. Like the craftsman who returns to the same piece of wood or stone, you shape your future through patient repetition, through steady hands and sharp focus. You may not see the result after one day, maybe not even after 1 week, but stack enough days and a masterpiece begins to reveal itself. Think of Immanuel Kant, the philosopher who adhered to a strict daily schedule, which included early morning walks and dedicated blocks for writing and contemplation. His legacy wasn't built on bursts of brilliance. It was built on dependable structure and unwavering consistency. His thoughts shaped generations, not because he worked harder than others, but because he worked reliably. Or reflect on Louisa May Alcott. Even in the face of illness and financial struggle, she woke early to write. She didn't wait for ideal conditions. She used her mornings, and from that steady rhythm came stories that have touched millions. Her words weren't rushed. They were forged, morning by morning, through commitment and craft. When you rise with the sun, you beat the resistance that holds so many back. You begin your day before hesitation takes hold. You move while others are still questioning. You create while others wait for permission. And in doing so, you build more than momentum. You build trust in yourself. Not just that you can act, but that you will. Because consistency is the bridge between your vision and your results. Without it, your dreams remain concepts. But with it, they begin to materialize step by step, brick by brick, one focused morning at a time. The early hours give you the chance to build in silence, to act without distraction, to recommit, not loudly, but deliberately, to your purpose. And now, as this journey nears its final moment, there is one last truth left to explore. One final idea that weaves through everything you've learned, practiced, and built: the power of legacy, and how every early morning is not just about changing your day, but shaping the life you'll leave behind. In the previous part, we reflected on how consistency, quietly practiced each morning, becomes the bridge between vision and achievement. And now, it all comes down to this: one simple action. Each day, identify the one thing, however small, that moves you forward. Write the page, study the lesson, review the plan, reflect on your growth. These tasks may seem small in the moment, almost insignificant, but over time, they become the foundation of something far greater. Because when you make this your rhythm, success stops being a question of if and becomes a matter of when. You don't need to overhaul your life in one dramatic gesture. You need only to make today matter. Then wake up tomorrow and do it again. Think of the farmer who tills the soil each morning. He doesn't rush the process or question the outcome. He trusts the rhythm, because the harvest doesn't come from intensity, It comes from consistency. And so it is with your goals. Water them daily. Tend to them patiently. Stay close to the process. And one day, without even realizing it, you'll look up and see what you've built. Not by chance, but through your unwavering effort. Let your early mornings become a sacred contract with yourself. A quiet promise. No matter what the rest of the day brings, this time belongs to my mission. This is your hour to move the needle, to take the step, to prove, not to the world, but to yourself, that you're not just dreaming, you are doing. And as that habit strengthens, something shifts. Consistency becomes character. Character becomes identity. And identity? It shapes destiny. The person who rises each morning with purpose becomes unstoppable. Not because their path is easy, but because their discipline is stronger than their doubt. So rise. Rise not just to begin the day, but to build your life. Rise not simply to get through, but to grow through. Let your repeated actions, practiced in the stillness of dawn, become the drumbeat of your success. Let others wait for motivation. You begin with movement. Let others rely on fleeting inspiration. You rely on your daily decision to begin. And with each morning that you choose to rise, act, and stay the course, you separate yourself. Not by force, but by discipline. Not with noise, but with unwavering intent. One morning at a time. One step at a time. One small victory at a time. This is how dreams come alive. This is how ordinary mornings create extraordinary lives. And it all begins with one choice. Rise early, act consistently, and never stop becoming. Today, let this be your first step toward lasting success. Because your greatness begins, not someday, but with this sunrise. Wishing you strength, peace, and the discipline to rise. Stay healthy, stay inspired, and don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful content like this.